Frank Manor, the Michigan farmer who had brought in the first report, was caught in the middle. He was mad.
Well, you can look at here. Look, beer bottles thrown. Look at my windshield. What would you think if somebody was throwing beer bottles at your house, standing out in the middle of the road screaming, you nut, you're fanatic, and all that? What would you think?
Are you sorry now that you did tell people what you saw?
Yes, I am. I am sorry because not that it's not the truth, but it's just the idea, the reaction of the people. They think you're a nut. Tell you the truth, that's just what they figure you are. And I'm not going to take it no more. I don't want nobody down in here. I just leave me alone. And if the thing lands right there by that pump, I'd never say a word. Then he got out and talked to me. I wouldn't tell nobody. That's just the way I feel. I'm bitter and disgusted in the whole matter. And if people's going to act like that, I hope one lands right in Ann Arbor, right in the middle of Detroit.
If flying saucers had become a painfully closed subject to Frank Manor, they nevertheless remained an intriguing open subject to millions of his countrymen. UFOs had been popularized here and abroad for almost 20 years, ever since a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing some discs and said they looked to him the way saucers would if you skimmed them across water. As for the latest rash of UFO reports, a pioneer in rocketry and an early popularizer of interplanetary space travel, Dr. Willie Lay, thought he detected a reason.
Well, it is very typical that it is a rash, because if you get one report, you get a clutch of other reports following it. It feeds on itself, and the main problem there is that the term flying saucer, or to go official about it, UFO, has produced a label. In the past, if somebody saw a streak of light in the sky, which he couldn't understand and which didn't interest him very much, well, he might have told his wife that he saw a streak of light. Most likely he didn't. But now that he has a label to put to it, he comes home and tells his wife, his children, his neighbors, the policeman on duty, and a few other people that he saw a flying saucer.
In the days to come, many more people will cite many more flying saucers. To some, these UFOs will be miracles. To others, real but unexplainable. To most scientists, natural phenomena. Some people will be fooled. Others will try to fool the rest. But a few will be expert observers, and their sightings will keep the controversy churning over whether vehicles from outer space are possible and whether indeed these vehicles already have arrived here. We turn to that part of the UFO story in a moment.
Here is a ritual that goes on night after night before each new term in high schools all over the land. This is scheduling. The fitting of courses to the needs of each student and the needs of each student to the new term's classes. These teachers and counselors are searching by trial and error for a schedule that works, trying out students and classes in combination after combination. Night after night, right up to the opening of school. But in this high school, where 2,000 students have their choice of more than 100 classes, this IBM computer tries out millions of combinations of students and classes and arrives at the optimum schedule in one afternoon. The process starts in a student counselor's office.
Chair, if you're planning on a scientific career such as medicine, that may be physiology or biology too.
The counselor analyzes where each student's abilities lie and where he needs direction. The counselor then simply marks the ideal courses for the student on one of these lists. These course requests go into the IBM computer. Already stored in its disk memory are related facts about each course, when it's given, how much space in the class. And here's the result. The most workable schedule for every student, coming up as a roster of each class for each teacher. That's one of the jobs the computer does for the teacher.
From the indicative to the subjunctive moods. Also, you've got about 10 minutes left.
The computer also scores tests and supplies more information from them. Not only grades, but where each student stands in the class, where the class stands in the state, and the state in the nation.
What'd you get, Jim? I got an A.
This computer information gives teachers a better idea where more work is needed. The computer also stores grades from the teacher, plus comments on each student. All this information is processed and served back as reports for parents. And as a complete record for counselors on which to base more accurate guidance.
With your 40th percentile score.
The IBM Secondary School Computer System, giving our teachers a better opportunity to know and help each and every individual student.
Here again is CBS News correspondent Walter Cronkite.
There are more things in heaven and earth, says Shakespeare's Hamlet, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. On the other hand, there may be less there than often meets the eye. The oceanographer and meteorologist Athelstan Spielhaus.
In the very early times, people didn't understand the majestic kind of catastrophes of nature. If a volcano blew its head and destroyed a village, primitive people used to think of it as some enlarged monster, some enlargement of a thing that was familiar to them, like a wild animal or something. In other words, they interpreted this ununderstandable, rather fearsome thing in terms of their present knowledge, primitive as it was. From there you get into medieval times with a sort of resurgence of mysticism and religious fervor. And I suppose if people saw unexplained things in the sky in those days, they explained them as miracles. Well, then you get to today, and we're on the brink of interplanetary travel, and so we begin to see things in the sky again that we can't understand or can't explain immediately. So we explain them again with this sort of colossal egotism of man at his present time. We explain them in terms of our latest ability, namely on the brink of space travel, these must be spaceships.
But then only a few years ago, this would have been called an optical illusion, or it might have been called a miracle. But a man being powered through the air without benefit of plane or balloon is today a reality. Tomorrow, he may even be a traffic problem. There are jets that can rise straight up and then hover, like this British Hawker P-1127. The French also have experimented in this field. This is the Balzac, not a UFO. The Germans also are doing it. This is the EWR. Here it comes in for a landing. EWR, not UFO. The American XV-5A, built by Ryan, not only flies straight up and down, it also flies sideways and backwards. Northrop's wingless M2F2, otherwise known as the Flying Bathtub, is NASA's lifting re-entry body, half plane, half spacecraft, landing like a conventional jet without power. Another wingless piece of airborne hardware is this lunar landing research vehicle at NASA's Research Center, looking more like a giant flying ant that might have come out of a Martian comic book. It will be used when we get to the moon. Small wonder that laymen seeing such things in newspapers, aviation, and trade journals, as well as in newsreels and on television, are ever more ready to believe anything. For if these are real, then others, more incredible, are most probably being tested in secret. However, all these vehicles operate within the laws of physics and aerodynamics, even though they may give the appearance of operating outside the laws of nature. But ufologists still insist there is more to it than this, and so there is. At England's Victoria and Albert Museum, CBS correspondent Frank Kern spoke to aeronautical historian Charles Harbord Gibbs Smith.
My position now, I think, is that I believe